Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering England, another disappointing performance as they draw with Denmark 1-1. We talk about how impressive Spain were as they defeated Italy in very dominant fashion. We react to Argentina defeating Canada in the opening match of the Copa America. We talk about Serbia stealing a point at the very end, and we talk about who will come out of that group. And then make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you my preview with France versus Netherlands coming up tomorrow, the big heavyweight matchup we've all been looking forward to at these group stages. Before we start off, I'd like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the Tims and Donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. We have to start off with England and another disappointing performance, another disappointing result. The first game wasn't a disappointing result, they won, but another disappointing performance. This time they end up getting made to pay by Denmark. By the way, this is a rematch of last year's European Championship semifinals. So there's a level of quality and a different element that this Denmark team provides. And, it's clear that Denmark was the superior team throughout this game. Not even just looking at just the stats, but the stats say so just as well. When you look at 16 shots for Denmark compared to 12 shots for England, 7 shots on target for Denmark, 4 shots on target with England, 51% possession for Denmark, 49% for England. Very disappointing performance from England. I think a combination of this performance and the performance that they had against the U.S. men's national team in the 2022 World Cup group stages have to be like the two worst performances under Gareth Southgate at a major international tournament. Just really, really poor. But let's be fair. Seems like there's a lot of shock amongst a lot of the media regarding this performance. I see some in the English media saying this is the worst performance under Southgate, this, that. But let's be for real though. Really? Why are we surprised? I mean, England have always flattered to deceive. I mean, this is something that we've seen not just under Gareth Southgate. This goes way back to the, to the era with Sven-Göran Eriksson. Goes back even more with the Terry Venables team with England in Euro 96. 2010 with Fabio Capello, what they did against Germany. 2014 not even getting out of the group stages. I mean, this goes way back with these unflattering performances. Now, if we want to go specifically talking about under the Gareth Southgate era, we see these performances over and over again. Going back to the 2021 Euros when they drew against Scotland in the group stages, 0-0 at home at Wembley. When you look at the 2022 World Cup, what they did against the U.S. men's national team, drawing 0-0 to the U.S., getting outplayed in both of those games, in my opinion. Getting dominated in the midfield by both of those teams, in my opinion. And then now this result here, both of these performances, this European Championship, is kind of, it's kind of what we expect, or what we should expect. Obviously, it's not what we all expect because the surprise was there. There was a lot of people surprised by this, which, for me, I don't understand. English players have always been overhyped. It's an element of the Premier League being overhyped, but let's be fair, the quality of the Premier League has reached a very high level over the past few years. Still not as high as they think it is, but it's still the best league in the world, clearly. But overall, I mean, this performance again is the same thing as the first game in terms of you go up a goal early, and you just don't know how to handle the suffering. The other team ends up turning it on, push men forward, goes goes for it a little bit, and England players, they kind of get put in they kind of go in a natural shell of just in general being backed up, taking a few steps back. Like if the midfielders are around the halfway line, they all start off 10 yards before the halfway line. The center backs, they're 20 yards above the box, now they're only 10 yards in front of the box. It's just naturally they sit in just a little bit, because I guess there's the feeling, okay, we got the goal and we have to defend it for all we got, because we could be in trouble. It's the lack of confidence there that this English national team has suffered for a very long time. And it was really a poor performance in the fact that once Denmark got that equalizer and made it 1-1, because keep in mind the equalizer did come early, it came in the 30th minute. You never seemed like you never watched it. It never seemed like England were really a threat to get the winner at any point in time. It never really seemed like Denmark was in much danger. In fact, Denmark had the better of opportunities. There was a few opportunities. Denmark won the ball high up the field with pressing and in dangerous situations, and they just weren't able to finish it off. But again, just lack of guile, lack of determination, lack of confidence. A lot of players play with the fear of not being afraid to mess up. I thought the midfield was very, very poor. I thought they got completely outplayed by this Danish midfield. I thought Denmark was more intense. They were more aggressive in terms of winning second balls, in terms of pressing. They seemed like the team that was more excited in going after the game, which is really a bad look for England with the quality of players that they have. And Denmark is the team that's more of the protagonists. It's really, really poor. And again, a lot of these English players, if you go look across the board, not a single England player can held themselves high. I thought all of them were poor throughout this game. Harry Kane, he ended up scoring the goal, but he's the one that cost them the goal, trying to play out, which I don't understand, by the way. You got all these players, you got this midfield of Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's brought in to be a playmaking, a regista type of midfielder, because that's his main attributes in terms of putting him in there. You got these kind of players that have quality being on the ball. Even Phil Foden, who sometimes drop down from his winger position to pick it up in midfield. You got all these players to pick it up. And Harry Kane, yes, he has that kind of quality to come and drop down as a 10. But you have all these brilliant players, and Harry Kane is feeling the need to come and pick the ball off the back line and to start off an attack. Really shows the alarming situation that this English national setup is in right now. But yeah, Harry Kane had the turnover with the goal. The Trent Alexander-Arnold, I thought he performed actually better in this game compared to the last, in terms of, at least in this game, there was a few opportunities where he picked out a great ball. There was a few balls that he played it. I remember right before he got subbed out, there was this one long ball he played down to Bukayo Saka and De Gea, kind of made the Danish backline, tested them a little bit. It was a brilliant ball. And there was also a few other balls he played in that I thought was really, really good. But overall, as a midfielder, receiving the ball back to goal, he seemed uncomfortable. And, it's clear, getting subbed off 55th minute in to Conor Gallagher again, it's clear that this Trent Alexander-Arnold midfield situation is probably over. And Declan Rice looked so uncomfortable on the ball. Few bad plays, didn't really progress the ball like a proper midfielder should. And we know at England, I think it's gonna get to a point that, especially in the long term, right now, okay, maybe they'll be able to work it out, but in the long term, I don't see how Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham can play together, because they both play that similar 8 position. Declan Rice, Jorginho or Thomas Partey, or they've had to come in to be the main deep line playmaker at Arsenal. Declan Rice, that has not been his game, especially since he got to Arsenal. He hasn't been the one. In terms of progression, most of his progression comes from him being able to drive past players and to dribble with the ball, not progression through his ability to see a pass or make a pass. And there was opportunities that he could have played forward and instead made a bad mistake, turning the ball over, or went backwards and really slowed down England's play. But again, that could be a team thing. But speaking of what I was saying though, it seemed like Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham played this similar role, and I don't think Declan Rice is as good as what Jude Bellingham can be at that position. And so I don't know both of them can work, especially if you do play with them both of them as a double pivot, then you're gonna want to bring in somebody. Then it's essential to bring in somebody that can be like a deep line playmaker. And I think that midfield three would be slightly a little defensive. Gareth Southgate said after the game, we don't have a natural Calvin Phillips replacement. Look, there's a lot of ways that could, that could be interpreted. There's a lot of English fans that are really riled up by those comments, which I agree. It's a little ridiculous. You have one of the best generations of English football players, and you're saying we don't have a Calvin Phillips replacement. Well, I can't defend those quotes, and I'm not going to defend those quotes. I'm not a Gareth Southgate fan, so I don't even feel the need to defend those quotes. But when you have this level of talent within the squad, you have to figure out. You have to figure it out. Like, you can't be making excuses saying we don't have a Calvin Phillips replacement. Figure it out. Make a change up the formation, change it up. And definitely they cannot go with the same starting lineup again. And Phil Foden, again, he looked a little lackluster dropping down in the midfield. It just was a poor performance overall for England. And I don't see how they can really turn it around enough to make a deep run at this European Championship. I just don't think they're at that level. When you look at the likes of Spain and Germany, especially the Spain we played today, how can England go in and compete with that? The midfielders, I think Spain would go into that England game and they would control 90% of the ball. England would be, Harry Kane would be a holding midfielder. England would get sucked in so deep, and it would just be inevitable. Spain, getting a breakthrough and England not being able to do anything about it. It's just, I don't see them competing at this level. And with Gareth Southgate, he can make some chip and chops and, change it up a little bit to get a little bit, new rhythm, new flow going on. But in terms of going on a run to win this European Championship, I don't see that happening for England. And I can't say I'm surprised. I believe I did not have them in my top 5 entering the European Championship in terms of my favorite. I think their performances up to this point in this European Championship have justified my position on them. And yeah, we'll see. Now they take on a Slovenian team, which is in terms of pure talent and ability, a much weaker opposition. But you saw Slovenia, they could play some football sometimes, and they got the likes of Benjamin Sesko, and they have a brilliant goalkeeper, Jan Oblak. So we'll see. We'll see how Gareth Southgate decides to attack that game. And we'll discuss that more later, a little bit later in the show regarding that group. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we're going to discuss how impressive were Spain as they dominated Italy.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits some lucid shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed England and their disappointing result as they drew with Denmark. We move on to discuss Spain and how impressive they were as they got past Italy in dominating fashion. You know, in the first game at the European Championship, not the first game, but the first game Spain competed in Croatia, we applauded their performance and the result, not because of how dominant they were necessarily, but I applauded their performance based on the professionalism, the new sense of verticality that we saw from the team, and a little bit of new sense of dynamism, verticality, directness, and their ability to be very, very clinical. And I really applauded the performance. It was a professional victory, and and they got a victory getting outpossessed, which I never thought I'd see a day that Spain get outpossessed by another national team. Maybe if they go up against a full-fledged Brazil, maybe then, I could see them getting outpossessed by a fellow national team, but against the likes of a Croatia, I was surprised by that. But they still won, and they won in dominant fashion. This game, I would say that game finished 3-0. This game finished 1-0, but I think this game was much, much more dominant. Because in that game, Croatia created a plenitude of opportunities. It was really a back and forth game. Spain would have a chance, Croatia would have a chance. The only difference was Spain took their chances while Croatia didn't. But Croatia didn't come out of the game saying, oh, this is just a team that's outclassed us. They're just much better than us. We can't play with them. I didn't get that feeling at all from that Croatia team. They had their chances in that game. They had brilliant chances. They just certain moments they were daft defensively. Very just bad mistakes defensively at certain areas of the pitch, losing individual battles. This game, Spain took on Italy, and man, I just want to say this was retro, vintage Spain. Completely dominate in terms of possession, midfield completely dominated the game. A lot of tiki-taka style of play in terms of possession-based, trying to break down an Italian team that didn't necessarily want to go in. I don't know. I'm not Spalletti, but I don't believe Italy came into this game, trying to go back to their old ways of just defend. I think Spain forced them in that low block in the way of how just dominant they were, how much of a struggle it was for Italy to come out when they won the ball. It was Spain would control the ball for 5, 8, 9, 10 straight minutes, and as soon as Italy were finally able to regain, a Spanish player was right there high up, pressing the field and regaining the ball, and it went back to the process of possession, controlling possession. And there was a little bit of an element of directness in there too, with Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, who gave Giovanni De Lorenzo gave him probably the worst night of his career, especially in that first half. Oh my goodness, Giovanni De Lorenzo was absolutely cooked and battered every which way. He put him in a roaster and barbecued him because Giovanni De Lorenzo had no chance. I mean, Nico Williams cutting in, cutting out, nutmegs, just was completely torching De Lorenzo on that left hand side, and eventually at a forced either a Frattesi or most of the time it was a Frattesi to help out De Lorenzo, because just one-on-one it was just not happening. It was just Nico Williams all the way. Lamine Yamal with his ability to, he was very good, he was very direct, he was putting in some good balls, and they just couldn't get that goal on the goal sheet. I think Morata, he didn't really find themselves in much dangerous positions, in my opinion. Not enough positions to really make that Italian center-back partnership feel fear. I think Italy's and most of their general play, most of their general fear that they gave that Italian backline Spain was through the wingers, was through the verticality of the wingers and how dominant they were midfield wise. I think Morata didn't really find themselves in that good areas. I think Calafiori and Bastoni did a very, very good job of, cutting out the space for Morata in between the channels. But yeah, it just, you never thought Italy was really in this game until the end. Until the last 10 minutes, Italy did start to turn it on and create a few opportunities for themselves. But far from them, you look at the stats and, they semi-tell the story because I don't think the stats show 20 shots to Spain, 4 shots to Italy, 9 shots on target for Spain, 1 shot on Italy, 58% possession for Spain, 42% for Italy. It seemed a little bit more dominant. I mean, in that first half, if it is 0-0, I believe it was like 11 shots for Spain, none for Italy. And the biggest positive that Italy had after that first half was the fact that it was still 0-0. And they did a very good job of defending, putting their life on the line, defending all their lives because they had no opportunity to really do anything else but defend. They were defending the entire half. But yeah, it was just I was pleasantly disappointed in Italy because we saw the style of play that we saw in that first game against Albania, yes, against weaker opposition, but we saw an Italy team that was able to put men forward, to play with courage, to play really well in transition. You saw the likes of Chiesa return to his kind of European form of the last Euros, and it was really good from them. And then in this game, they really struggled to get out. I mean, once they regained the ball, it seemed like it was, the amount of times that the Italians lost the ball on their own half of the pitch was outstanding because the Spanish press was amazing. It was absolutely brilliant performance. I think, in my opinion, I watched a lot of Spain games since Luis de la Fuente came in through the European qualifiers, Nations League, these European Championships. I think this has to be the best performance from the beginning to the get-go because it was just really, really dominant, and I was impressed with them in the first game because of what they showed, their verticality, and I think this game is proof to me that this is a legit team that really could win the European Championship because if you can control the midfield the way that they can, because the thing with the Spain team the biggest thing with the Spain, so we watched the first game and we saw the direct element, the verticality and all that, and we're like, okay, that's good. They can win in different ways. They can be clinical, but can they still go back to their ways of being able to possession orient? Because that could be important in certain areas. Certain times you're gonna need to be able to slow down a game and to really control the ball possession wise and really suffocate a team in certain times against certain opponents. And we needed to see, do they still have that element that they can do that on this big stage? And they proved today that they still can play that tiki-taka style of way, but they can also change it up and be vertical and be direct. And when you have that sort of flexibility, man, that makes you a very, very dangerous team because it gives you a way to attack certain opponents. If you're going up against opponents with a low block, okay, you've shown that you can control possession, that you can be able to find a breakthrough. Now, if you play against a team that'll open up against you, you've shown that you could be also clinical, that you can take advantage in transition. You really can play in multiple different ways. And in a tournament like this, with the squad that they have, with the brilliant talent that they have, to be able to do that, it makes them a deadly, deadly team. It makes them a deadly team at this European Championship. Now, as far as Italy, yes, concerning a little bit of a concerning performance. I think the way that they defended is really, really good. And to be fair, they didn't actually concede a goal. To be honest, the goal that they conceded was fairly unlucky. Donnarumma makes a save, but it deflects off Calafiori into the net. It's an own goal, and obviously the Spaniards created their luck with the way that they dominated the game, but it was an own goal. That's how Spain were able to break through an own goal. But yeah, it was just a little concerning the fact that they weren't a little bit more clinical in transition. It seemed like when they won the ball back a few times, I thought they could be more clean in the way that they transition. I thought the way that they got out could have been more fluid, but it was just very, very lackluster. But it is a lot of these players' first time on this big stage, and well, not first time on this big stage, but this is a team that's a little bit in the transition. So I'm not going to completely say it's the end of the hill. Now, they have a very good test in next week going up against Croatia. I think we'll figure out a lot about this team then. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to, get back to that Albania way against Croatia. Because I think Croatia is a team that will give you more of a test that you had against Albania, but not as deadly as Spain. And I don't think Croatia will be able to dominate Italy the way Spain were able to. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we're going to discuss Argentina defeating Canada in the opening match of Copa America.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Spain and how they were able to defeat Italy in dominant fashion. We continue on to discuss Argentina. They defeated Canada in the opening match of Copa America. They got past the Canadian national team in a 2-0 result to open up this Copa America with 3 points. Not the most entertaining game. I think we got spoiled by the European Championship and how entertaining the European Championships were. But at the end of the day, Argentina got the job done. They were the better team. They had a lot more opportunities, in my opinion, to make this more than a 2-0 game, especially near down the end. Messi had a lot of opportunities. Early on the game, they really could have made this game much more comfortable if they were able to take advantage of the one-on-one transition opportunity they have after the Canadian corner kick with Di Maria not being able to get the ball past Crepo. But yeah, overall, professional victory by Argentina. Not the most scintillating football, not the kind of football that we saw from them in that first 70 minutes that we saw when they took on France in the World Cup final. But again, as I said, a professional victory. A few moments of quality with Messi playing balls in behind. You saw Julian Alvarez, the verticality he gives to get on the end of one, and then Lautaro Martinez, he also gives you a little bit of verticality. He gives you off the bench. I thought there was a chance that maybe he might have started this game just based on the amazing form he had in the Serie A, but he comes off the bench. But I think the critical part about it was that he's able to get back on the score sheet for Argentina at a major tournament, and his confidence is up. I think he can be a huge, deadly factor for this Argentina national team. I think he's the best 9 that they have, despite him being on the bench. I think it's out of respect for Julian Alvarez, just based on what he was able to do for Argentina at the World Cup and the trust that he's built with Scaloni. But a lot of you remember, Lautaro Martinez actually started that World Cup as the starter in that first opening game against Saudi Arabia. Eventually, he ended up getting replaced because of his mediocre performances, and then the confidence went down, and he just had an abysmal World Cup. But we know the kind of player he is when his confidence is high. And now that he's able to get in the goal sheet for Argentina, I believe that this could be a pathway for him to start gaining the trust of Lionel Scaloni back in. Maybe we see him potentially back into the starting lineup. Maybe you can fit him and Julian Alvarez, it'll be interesting to see that. But I think Lautaro Martinez scoring for Argentina is a huge deal that not many people is talking about. Because if he can get his form for Argentina right, and he can be a factor for them, if he's back to his best, he is a major factor, not just for Argentina, but for this entire Copa America, because he's the kind of player that can swing Argentina from, a favorite, yes, but like a clear runaway favorite that no team has a realistic shot to get past them at this Copa America. Now it's clear that Messi, I'm not going to give him an excuse in rust because he has been playing recently for Inter Miami, but it's clear that he's not really up to this level at this point right now. He seemed a little slow. He seemed like he had a little bit too much time. There was a few easy opportunities he had in behind that he just couldn't get it right in terms of finishing. There's certain times that he kind of thinks that he has more time than he really does. Maybe playing in MLS, and how horrible MLS is defensively, programmed Messi into, thinking he has more time than he does. So I think it's going to take him a game, maybe second game, to really get back to his level. But I have no doubts over him. He's going to be back to what Messi is really soon, and he's going to dominate this Copa America. I think even in this game, he had a few moments of magic. He had a ball in the first half all the way across the field from one end to the other. It beat like 4 or 5 defenders, then mostly through the air, but it was a sublime pass. And then he had, in my opinion, he was the main creator of the 2 goals. The first goal, he plays a nice clever ball in behind, didn't get the assist because McAllister didn't finish it, but McAllister's rebound fell into Alvarez's pass. And then the second goal, played a nice little clever ball, really an easy ball for a guy of the caliber of Messi, but was able to play in Lautaro Martinez from behind, and that made it second. But I'm not really concerned about Messi. This is Messi is Messi. He's the greatest, and he's still one of the most talented players in the world. No doubt about it. I don't think I wouldn't take anybody in terms of the front three, in terms of attacking wise, ahead of him. He just needs to get back to this level of speed. He needs to get used to this level of speed again. And once he's able to do that, I think he's gonna be, he's gonna prove he's still the best player at this Copa America. As far as Canada, they had a few opportunities that they're gonna rule. After this game, Kyle Larin had a few opportunities. Jonathan David had a good header. Tajon Buchanan, he had an opportunity where he couldn't just really set his feet and hips right, and really looked embarrassing live. But if you could tell that it just his balance was off. But the main thing about that really was disappointing is he didn't really need to try that half, not even a half chance, but like a 10% chance type of play to try to sneak it into the near post. He had a Jonathan David that was coming in. He could have squared it and give him an opportunity. Now, there was another opportunity Jonathan David had that ricocheted off an Argentina defender, blocked. But yeah, Canada had some chances in this game, and they had some chances in this game early to make it 1-0. That could have, really put Argentina in a trouble place, being down 1-0. And having to open up, and now you have the pace of guys like Alphonso Davies. I think Alphonso Davies had a very good game, really attacking from that left-hand side. He had a few chances where he was able to get in behind Argentina, square in a few balls, couldn't get the right connection, couldn't get the right final ball, and it wouldn't get it through. But I thought Canada did have some opportunities. Defensively, they looked very open, especially when they were chasing that game. Near the end, they had they left a lot of opportunities out there for Argentina. And, even that first half with that first opportunity off the corner kick, with this Jesse Marsch kind of play of playing really, really high and being really open and really going for it, you leave yourself susceptible in the back certain periods. But overall, I didn't think the performance was horrible from them. I thought they had their few opportunities. I thought Johnston was pretty good. Davies was good. Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, they just need to be more clinical, especially going up against these better teams. But I definitely think, based on this performance, I still think they will get out of the group. I don't think Peru and Chile will be able to, I think Canada have a legitimate opportunity going into those two games to say, oh, we are getting out of this group. We are a better team than these two teams. I think they have every opportunity to get the result. They haven't scored a goal with Jesse Marsch yet. And, excluding that first performance, I think it's been pretty okay. You started off your first three performances or first three games under Jesse Marsch are against the Netherlands, the French, and Argentina. That's three difficult teams. That's a Netherlands team that reached the quarterfinals of the World Cup that only ended up getting eliminated by the World Cup champion. And then you got the two teams that played in the World Cup final. So now I think there is more than fair to say that there's going to be a significant drop-off in terms of level of competition now with these next two games going up against Peru and Chile that are really, really been not that good, really been suffering in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers up to this point. They're two teams in that bottom 3-4 area. So I think Canada goes into these games confident in their ability. I think they need to be aggressive. They need to play with no fear in terms of playing high line, trying to win the ball high up the field, and really taking advantage with the pace that they have in transition. And they could be a not deadly outfit, but they could get out of this group. They can definitely get out of this group. And they should get out of this group. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we're going to discuss Serbia stealing the point right at the very end against Slovenia and who's coming out of that interesting Group C at the European Championship.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed Argentina defeating Canada in the opening match of Copa America. We move on to talk about Serbia. They stole a point right at the very end against Slovenia to get a point, their first point of this tournament. So we talk about how this Group C is going to finish out. Now regarding that Serbia-Slovenia game, heartbreak for Slovenia. Major heartbreak for Slovenia. I think a Slovenia team that played a very good game in this. Obviously, when it comes to pure talent amongst the squad, this is one of the weaker teams in the tournament. I don't think it's disrespectful to say that, but this is also a team that has good ability to play in transition. They've created a lot of opportunities for themselves at this European Championship. They played some very, very good football, and they got, in terms of goalkeeper and forward, not really the lone striker, but striker and goalkeeper, they could argue two world-class players in that position with Jan Oblak and Benjamin Sesko, which is a good way to build a team when you have that type of, attacker, and then you have that solidifier in the back and a goalkeeper. That's a way to build it up, build up a proper team. And they have, important players at important positions. Now, in this game against Serbia, I thought they were really, really good. I thought there were certain areas in time that they were a really major protagonist. I thought there were certain times Serbia really just were disappointing. They had a lot of possession through the game. They outpossessed them 61-40 or 61-39, but there's a lot of dead possession too. There were certain times that Serbia was able to create, especially near the end. But in terms of domination, like the way I expected the Serbian team, in my opinion, that has huge, huge quality, we didn't really see that from Serbia, which is the thing that makes me a little bit disappointed. And then Serbia found themselves down a goal, and really, to be honest, maybe justifiably so, because I thought Slovenia was really getting into the game when Zan Karnik slotted home that cross with 20 minutes left. And it would put the Slovenians on the verge of their first European Championship win. And then it would have pushed Serbia basically to elimination. But Jovic rescued Serbia, rescued his country, rescued the nation with basically the last kick of the game, the header, flicked header into the corner, and the atmosphere was absolute electric. The celebrations, the relief, it was absolutely great to see. It's what makes the European Championships great. And by the way, the draw actually ends up benefiting England, who are guaranteed a spot not guaranteed a spot in the knockout stage, but really makes them a lot more comfortable into the knockout stage. It would have guaranteed them a spot in the knockout stage if they beat Denmark, but they weren't able to do that. But yeah, there was certain times Serbia just they really disappointed. Their manager Dragan Stojkovic came out and criticized his team after playing against England, saying they showed them too much respect. I don't know if I really saw that. I thought Serbia actually played really well in that game, especially after they conceded the goal. Maybe within the first 15 minutes and how they sat back within the first 15 minutes and didn't have a go out really at England and allowed them to have comfortable control of possession. I think that maybe what he's talking about. If he's talking about in terms of that, then I agree, because I thought they could have started off better. But yeah, overall, I thought this game was better than that, and not better than that, but they created more. But that's bound to happen when you're playing against Slovenia. Now, as far as this result and what it does for this group, it makes it interesting in the fact that the bottom three teams are all separated by a point. Second, third, and fourth, they're all separated by a point, with Denmark and Slovenia having 2 points apiece, and Serbia finishing with 1 point apiece. And England is top of that group with 4 points because of them being Serbia. But which, by the way, what if they were able? To be honest, Serbia deserved that point in that game. They really should have been able to find that breakthrough, and that would have made this group extremely interesting. If Serbia was able to nick that goal in at the end and get a point out of that game, that would have finished this group. That would put this group in a situation where all teams entered the final game with 2 points, and man, that would have made that group ending so interesting on so many levels. And it would have really caused a war in the streets of London. Oh my goodness. If the English did not draw points in that and in this game, wow, that would have been a very interesting time to live as a neutral football fans. But it's no good to talk in hypothetical situations. What is happening now is England is top of that group right now as it stands with 4 points. Denmark, Slovenia are in second and third with 2 points apiece, and then Serbia are last with a point. Serbia take on Denmark in that final game. England take on Slovenia. So it makes it tricky with these three teams, this situation. Now, I think England and Slovenia, England has been really, really poor this tournament. But if they struggle to play against Slovenia, just based on the difference in level of quality, front to bottom, man, that really, really, because Slovenia does not have the quality that Denmark and Serbia pose. They don't. And to be fair, besides Jan Oblak, you couldn't really see any of these Slovenian players get into the squad of England, let alone 11. Benjamin Sesko, can he find his way into the England squad? I think maybe he can find himself in, maybe ahead of Ivan Toney potentially. But even then, I think that's not far-fetched, but I think that's a real question mark in my opinion. This is a Slovenian team that's really much weaker in terms of squad ability than England. But again, Serbia and Denmark are weaker opposition to England, and Serbia and Denmark, in my opinion, outperformed England, and and their midfielders outplayed England midfielders. So will Slovenia, they can make up it up, they can make it there. The thing with Slovenia in this game is, though, chances are more likely than not, depending on what happens with the Serbia-Denmark game, chances are they're going to have to really go for a victory in this game against England, more likely than not. And that's going to make it, interesting. Now, it all depends with this and this and that. I don't know if, I think Slovenia can make it dirty and make it fight against England, but I think it'll take one breakthrough for England. And I don't know if Slovenia really has what it takes to make England pay the way Denmark was able to make them play in terms of quality. So I do think England will, get that victory over Slovenia. Then I think it really comes down to that Denmark-Serbia tie. And I think Denmark will get the victory in this game. I think they'll right their wrong of the last World Cup where they couldn't get the victory when they needed it on the final match day against Australia. I think Denmark has been more impressive than Serbia in this tournament as a whole. I thought Serbia were very lucky to escape that Well, obviously they were very lucky to escape that Slovenia game with a point. I think Denmark has more quality than Slovenia to really make them pay in transition the way that, Slovenia couldn't make the Serbia team pay and make this game go away. I think Denmark can do that. I think Serbia will struggle to contain the likes of Christian Eriksen and the likes of Yusuf Poulsen and Jonas Wind and Rasmus Højlund. And I think Pierre Højbjerg and Eriksen will do a good job in controlling that midfield. I think they'll have control of the possession of the game and really limit the opportunities Dusan Tadic has on time on the ball to really make a play for the Serbians. I think Serbia will be a little bit on the back foot. I think overall Denmark has more experience than them, has more quality, not more quality, but more, I believe in their ability. I think Denmark's are very, very good defensively too, with Jan Andersen, Vestergaard, Christensen. I think they match up well with the likes of Serbia because they have the size to match up with Mitrovic. I can see an opportunity. I can see a change because Mitrovic has not been up to his best at this European Championship. I can see Stojkovic change it up and put Mitrovic in the bench and play Vlahovic alone up top, or even bring in a guy like a Jovic who ended up scoring that goal to push to give the point to Serbia, because I don't think Mitrovic will be dominant aerially going up against Vestergaard, Andersen, Christensen. I think they have a lot of size, especially with Vestergaard in there. They have the tallest team at this tournament. I think Mitrovic, with his ability to be direct, it won't be much of a factor going up against this Danish back line. So maybe you want to go with the finesse and the quality of the likes of Vlahovic or Jovic. But if he does go with Mitrovic, Stojkovic, I think that fits in with that plays into Denmark's hand because they don't have to worry about a striker that can really, dribble past them. They just need to be physical, which they will be. They need to, win aerial duels, which they can, and I think that plays into their hands. So yeah, I think Denmark wins that group, or not wins the group, but they move on with England. But England, they could, England are, let's get this clear. England are the only team in that group that's safe from elimination. England are the only team that's safe from elimination because they have 4 points, and 4 points more likely than not with these third place teams is enough to get you through. The rest of those 3 teams, they could all either get eliminated or they could or any of them could move on, and that's what we want to see at these European Championship. And when in these tournaments, in these major international tournaments, if you're a team on the fringe, if you're a team that is not a guarantee to get into the groups, to get into the knockout stage. If the expectation is that it'll be a little bit of a struggle to get into the knockout stage, or you really have to dig in, then the main goal with these first 2 games is to at least push it to the third game. And Serbia and Denmark, to an extent, they did that. They were able to extend it to the third game, and now they make this match day 3 very interesting to end off that group. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we're gonna discuss the France-Netherlands game. We give our preview on that game. before the break, we talked about Serbia and them stealing a point right at the very end versus Slovenia. We move on to the preview: France versus Netherlands. It's based on quality. This is the biggest game at this European Championship group stages, in my opinion. Based on pure quality, it's the most talented game we'll probably see. I thought Croatia-Spain had a lot of quality there too, and lived up in terms of play on the field. I know the result, 3-0 Spain, didn't look like that, but in terms of the game, I thought that was a really brilliant game. I thought Italy-Spain would give us something of that similar too, but nah, I did not think that game was really pleasing game to watch, to be honest. But I don't think this Netherlands-France game, by the way, keep in mind, Netherlands are coming out in this game after two very disappointing results in France in qualifiers, especially that first game when they went to France. They lost that game 4-0. They actually were down at halftime 3-0. And then in the second game in the Netherlands, they ended up dropping all points. They lost the game at home 2-1, which is always, it's unacceptable no matter what team you're playing against to lose a home qualifier. You know, no matter what team is coming in, you have to defend your home field. Netherlands wasn't able to do that. So, you know, it comes into this game, it's clear that France are the clear favorites. But Kylian Mbappe is coming in this game with a broken nose injury. We saw him in training today, training with a mask. There was reports that he was going to be out for this game, but there's other reports saying no, that is not true, and that he's going to be playing in this game. I think if he's training already, more likely than not, he's going to play. He's going to be playing with that mask. I don't expect to see him. I don't expect to see him starting in this game. I could be wrong, but I don't expect it. But I definitely think he's going to be an option off the bench for the Deschamps, depending on, you know, where this game is later in the game, and if they really feel like they need Mbappe to get the win or to even come back into the game. I think Mbappe will be a option for the Deschamps. But yeah, overall, there's a lot of quality in this game. The Netherlands are coming off this game after defeating Poland, a come from behind victory over Poland with goals from Cody Gakpo and Wout Weghorst right at the end to get past the Polish team without Lewandowski. You saw the scenes after Weghorst was able to get that second goal. It was pure adulation. It was supreme. And by the way, the Oranje, the fans, amazing support that they provide. You see the clouds. It's clouds of orange. It's just pure orange. It's pure passion. They travel in great numbers. I see they're all over my feed in terms of, you know, their fan parades and all that. Just brilliant support. And that's what we love seeing. We love seeing national teams that get supported. So yeah, they're gonna be a huge outfit. But in France, they're coming off a game where they got, you know, they etched themselves past Austria with a 1-0 victory after an own goal from one of the Austrian center backs to get past them. Kind of a vintage kind of France performance under the Deschamps of, you know, really observing pressure and taking advantage on the counter. Really creating a lot of chances through transition with the pace of Mbappe, Dembele, Thuram. And yeah, they were comfortable, not comfortable, but, you know, they were the victory. They won that game. N'Golo Kante, he came back to his world-class ways, winning man of the match in that game. He was an amazing player. I see him, he's going to continue to start. Now, the tricky thing with this situation is if Mbappe doesn't go, how do France decide to change it up? Now, France do have options with Colomwani. Maybe if they want to play Thuram through the middle, they can bring in a guy like Coman or Barcola or something of that sort. But I believe that they're going to go with Giroud. He's their leading international goal scorer. You have a guy of his ilk on the bench. He was one of the first guys off the bench in that game against Austria. He provides you something a little bit different. And he's, in terms of general play, he's still a very good number 9. So I think he will probably be the replacement for Mbappe. He'll play through the middle, while Thuram and Dembele will play alongside him. I think Griezmann the amazing thing about this resurgence that N'Golo Kante has for this French team is it allows Griezmann to play in more of his natural position of playing more closer alongside, whether it is Mbappe or this time around potentially Giroud. It allows him to play a little bit further up the field, and he doesn't have to do as much of the defensive work as he had to do at the 2022 World Cup. Especially, we'll see this as time goes on against better opposition. He's going to push up higher in the field just naturally because Kante is just able to cover so much space. And I think that can be important. I think in the Netherlands, in the way that they're able to win this game, is number one, they have to be clinical because they will have their chances in this game. France will not be afraid to concede the possession to the Dutch. They won't be afraid to do that, but the Dutch have to be clinical in whenever they get up the field. They have to be clinical. They have to take advantage of the opportunities when they come. And if Memphis Depay is the one that starts for the Netherlands, and it's that same Memphis Depay that show up against Poland, that will not cut it. Because with this French team, if you don't take advantage of the opportunities that come, they're gonna make you pay. And it's also important that Depay shows he can be clever and cute with his certain Cruyff turns or his skill moves and stuff to create a bit of space. He's going to need that because this French team, they're not going to give you space necessarily in terms of defensively. They play very, very tight, very compact, very, very good defensively. They don't beat themselves. The Netherlands are going to have to beat them. They're going to have to beat them defensively. One of their players is going to have to beat the likes of a Saliba or Upamecano one-on-one, open up space for himself, because they're not going to concede the space. They're just so good defensively, and they can defend for 90 minutes and come out with a clean sheet, because that's the French way under the Deschamps. The level of discipline and defensive stability that they've had under Deschamps, because the way that they can concede the ball for long spurts in the game and defend for long spurts in this game, but still not concede a single goal, just shows the way that it just shows their discipline. And the Netherlands, they need to be able to. It's going to be very, very tricky for them to get past. I could see potentially maybe bring in a Firmpong, because he does provide you goals and assists coming off the right hand, up and down the right hand side. But at the same time, you are going to need the defensive stability, because France do have players to make you pay in transition. I think the fact that they're going to go with De Vrij, Van Dijk, Ake, back three, that gives Netherlands more of a chance to defend them in transition. But it's still important that the fullbacks don't get pushed up way too high up the field, because De Vrij, Van Dijk, Ake, they could still be in transition if they're only the only three back there. I think it's important that either Dumfries or the other fullback. I forgot who played on that left wing back side against the Polish. I forgot who played in that role, but it's important for them to not get caught up too up high of the field constantly, because France, with the pace that they have in transition, they can really make anybody pay. Even a defense as strong as the Dutch. But yeah, so there's certain areas that Netherlands have to solidify for this to be a game, and then France, if they just continue to play their game, I think they're gonna be, they have the style, they know how to do it, they've done it professionally, they have more quality than this Netherlands team. At the end of the day, that we have to be clear on. They do have more quality than this Netherlands national team. So for them, they just need to play to their level. They need to continue to do what they've done best over these past few international tournaments. If they don't have a major slip up, I don't see them dropping any points in this game. It's just, are they able to find that breakthrough? And once they're able to find that breakthrough, I think it's probably going to be smooth sailing for there. I'm going to predict a 0-0 result in this game. I think France will struggle against this Dutch backline to find that one breakthrough. Now, if they're able to find the breakthrough, it does completely change the game, but I don't think they will be able to. I don't think Dutch will really make this French backline give them much question marks. Maybe near the end, if they bring on a a guy like Weghorst again. Maybe he can be, with his direct ability, can provide a little bit of question marks for Upamecano and Saliba that are not the tallest of defenders compared to Weghorst, but who is tall compared to him. But yeah, I don't see the Dutch team providing them too much of a difficulty in terms of providing the French defense too much of a difficulty. The French defense is just so strong. It is really strong. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.